Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Antiheroes Anonymous, or welcome for the first time if it's your first time joining us. I'm Ethan, and I'm the Dungeon Master for this 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons show. We're starting a little bit late because traffic was awful. Nick, why don't you go ahead and start some player introductions, and then I will do announcements and a recap, and we'll get into it.
Alright. This is Kay. She plays Harmony, the thief and wild magic sorceress. This is Melissa. She plays Mara, the human rogue pirate.
Awesome.
This is Zach, who plays Hunter, the Warforged, Fighter/Ranger?
Yep.
And I'm Nick.
And you play?
Nick.
Charlie the Unicorn!
And I play Thaddeus, the human vengeance paladin.
Well, I said start.
Vengeance
introductions,
Pirate
but
Paladin?
okay.
It's just one of those days, yeah.
This is great.
You did a
It's my
great job.
favorite. Yay!
We can acknowledge it.
Acknowledge. Thanks, Dungeon Master.
Thanks, Dungeon
It's
Master.
above average.
Yeah.
You'll be happy to know that we did continue the above average,
Yes.
below average.
You did you?
We
Great.
did.
Great. I'm glad the spirit's alive. Okay, cool. I'll take it from
So,
here, guys.
announcements. We stream on Twitch every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time and then post those episodes to YouTube the following Wednesday. Throughout the show, we use a variety of custom items as well as a custom wild magic table for our resident wild magic sorcerer. Our music comes from BattleBards, Tabletop, Audio, and Incompetech. And our character portraits, which you'll see on the info cards in the top right corner, were drawn by an artist named Carrie Peach, who goes by @CarrieDraws on Twitter. Then if you're watching us on Twitch, you can check the channel page for links and info to everything I just mentioned and more. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can check the video description for a similar amount of information. And then if you still want more, you can follow us on Twitter @AntiheroesAnon. And we'll post things like when we're running late, when we're skipping weeks, etc., etc. Lastly, quick announcement, we're going to be on a holiday break for 2 weeks. Can I help you? Is something on my face?
Your mouths are hilarious today. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I know, our holiday break is hilarious.
Still laughing from all our puns from last week.
Must be. So we'll be back January 7th is the long and short of it. Other than that, we hope you enjoy the show, share it with your friends, and come back to watch more. So, quick recap, and then we'll dive straight in, especially since we're starting late. The party, joined by their friend Kameko, spent 2 weeks traveling to the Elderhaven Reaches by sea. Once they reached the location where their compass had been directing them to, a massive land feature rose out of the water, revealing a huge passage for them to sail their ship into. Within this giant black dome-like structure, the group encountered a band of lesser giants led by a troll named Shuten, who asked them for help winning the reordering games, which would allow Shuten's faction to rise in the ordering of the giants, and by extension, steer this structure that the party finds themselves within towards their goal of the Elderhaven Reaches. So sensing a win-win solution, the party got on board, and Mara won the first competition in a thoroughly rigged game of dice against a cloud giant. Shortly thereafter, Thaddeus won a second victory in a duel, single combat duel against a fire giant paladin of, the god Surtur, a known fire giant god. And that is where we picked up with the group of you heading towards the snowy domain of the frost giants within this vast cavern inside this structure. I'll put a map up on the screen for people to see. So you're heading to the sort of the north and west corner of this cavern under the direction of Shuten. For Hunter to initiate his... What is going on? Oh, jeez!
Yeah, sorry about that.
Kill it.
There we go.
Kill it with fire.
I've been trying.
What is it? It's a spider.
Oh,
I made several attempts.
It's a spider.
thank you, Nick.
I
knew the camera okay? This moved a little bit.
I'll read
The
it.
vengeance
Okay.
paladin.
Gosh, this episode.
Oh my gosh. We're just, you know.
This is
up in the days.
I leave for 1 week.
Yeah, spiders come and try and kill me.
Sorry about that.
That was
No.
the smallest spider I've ever seen.
I seriously appreciate it though, because if I saw it coming crawling out of the corner
Yes.
without you doing that, I would have been like,
Yeah, I know.
Kill it with fire.
And it looks like we're done.
Yep. See you guys.
That's all right.
Oh
You can
my
keep my
god, you
laptop.
guys
Yeah,
stop.
it belongs to the spider's mouth.
So Shuten begins to lead you into this snowy domain in a generally northwestward, sorry. And you quickly realize that the temperature in this area is bitter cold. With the exception of Thaddeus, every one of you here, if you don't have something to wrap yourself up in warmly, is going to be dealing with extreme cold if you're stuck out in the wilds for too long.
I have a purple cloak.
Is it a warm purple cloak?
I mean, I would imagine so.
All right, we'll say that's fine. And it's not long before your travels bring you under Shuten's guidance towards. Hold on, let me just get some music. Under Shuten's guidance, you find yourselves standing outside, sort of on hills overlooking a village of longhouses, constructed to giant proportion. And you're struck by sort of a sense of simplicity compared to the opulent Cloud Giant fortress where you first challenged for the Ordinary Games, and then the militaristic, utilitarian, prepared for battle fortress that was the Fire Giant's citadel. And you can just see several of these blue-skinned giants, well-muscled, every single one, male or female, that you see in this village, sort of milling about and going about various tasks. And Shuten sort of turns to the group of you and says, "All right, well, here we are. I mean, their leader, Scotty, she saw the last match, so she'll be probably expecting us. I don't think we have to worry about anything. Let's just stroll on in."
Okay.
And he sort of leads you forward towards what is obviously the biggest and longest of the longhouses. It looks like a general feasting hall of some sort. And as you walk through the village, you notice that a fair few of the frost giants seem to be wearing pelts. Like you saw Scotty herself was wearing like polar bear pelts and things like that. But the ones that you see the the frost giants here wearing, a good number of them seem to be like dyed red in some fashion. And so you find yourselves entering into this massive longhouse-like structure, and are instantly greeted by warmth and the smells of cooking meats and things like that. And you see several frost giants in here busying themselves about with different tasks. Some of them cooking things over fires, some of them just huddling and chatting and sharing drinks and things like that. But at the far corner the far edge of the longhouse, there is a throne that seems to be constructed out of massive bones of some kind. And as you draw closer, you begin to identify little structures here and there that signify that they're dragon bones. And the frost giant woman who you saw previously at Surtur's fight is seated upon the throne, two male frost giants flanking her on either side. And to refresh your memory, she just has the largest muscles you've ever seen, polar bear pelts draping both shoulders, and a dragon skull helmet upon her head. And you can see leaned against the wall her battle axe and bow just behind her, but well within reach should she need them. And as you approach, she looks at the group of you, and then her eyes dart to Shuten, but then settle on Thaddeus, and she says, "I saw your fight. Do you speak for your group?"
No. That would be Hunter.
I will.
I assume that you're here for the same reason you visited the clan of fire giants.
You're correct.
Well then, we don't have much time to waste because today is a sacred festival for our clan, and I would like to get this challenge over with by the time it comes to celebrate.
Okay. Yeah, we can do this immediately then.
Excellent. And is it you that I will be challenging?
It will.
She sort of sizes you up and down for a second, and then after a moment's pause says, traditionally, Frost Giant challenges take two forms, a hunt or a wrestling match. And while I can see that you're perhaps powerfully built for someone your size, I fear that a wrestling match would skew in my favor. So I propose a hunt. What do you say?
What kind of celebration is this?
And she kind of raises an eyebrow. Like you can tell that she's a little bit surprised that you took an interest in it. And she says, well, if you're interested to learn a bit, it's a festival known as Thrymtide, in reverence to the patron deity of the Frost Giants, Thrym himself. It celebrates a legend. You see, Thrym, on the eve in which we celebrate this holiday, as legend tells us, slew the king of Remorazes, and brought its corpse back to adorn the village, warding off any other Remorazes that would prey upon our young. And so, on this night, we hunt, we bring back powerful game, and we feast. They say that by the time that Thrym returned from his battle, his pelts were stained crimson with blood, and so we wear crimson pelts in adoration.
Yeah, we saw some of them outside.
She kind of nods.
Well,
It seems fitting.
in honor of your festival, I agree that we should hunt them.
Well then, I suppose all that's left is to set a time frame.
I
I say
also-
8 hours. How does
Okay.
that sound to you?
I also need to know the rules.
Yeah, she nods and sort of, then for the first time she sort of glances over at Shuten and says, oh, this outsider didn't brief you?
I mean, just as much as like wrestling or hunting, but I don't remember if he actually gave us. Did he give us?
We weren't sure which it would be.
Yeah. But to hear it from you would probably be the most fitting to make sure we're current.
Yeah, she nods and says, well, there aren't many rules. A frost giant proves its worth by its might, not by the craft of its weapons, not by its intellect, per se. So, the rules are simple in that whoever, by virtue of his or her own fists, brings back the greatest prey within the time frame is the winner.
Greatest prey.
So your task is twofold. You must survive, and you must bring back a glorious trophy.
Okay.
What's the time frame?
8 hours. Okay. Sure. When should we start?
She sort of looks up, and there's a little bit of there's like a patch above that is letting natural light filter in from above, and she sort of gauges the light and says, I should say immediately, if we want to be back in time for a feast. And as she stands up, the ground sort of trembles beneath her,
Yeah.
and she, without reaching for her bow or axe, because presumably she's going to go without weapon in hand, begins to make as if she's going to stride forward, but before she does so, she regards each and every one of you and says, prove yourselves not to me, and you will be like brothers and sisters to my clan. If you come back in good standing, perhaps you may share in the Thrymtide feast.
Okay. One more question, and then I'll pet my tiger and say, "This is my animal companion. Shall I leave him here, or take him with me?"
She chuckles. Ha! Well, I'll leave it up to you, but if you get to bring yours, I bring mine. And she sort of puts 2 fingers in her mouth and whistles, and from behind her there's sort of a shuttered window that bursts open with a loud crash, and a giant wolf's head, probably 4 or 5 times the size of a normal wolf,
Like
pure
barrel.
white fur, bursts through the window with a snarl, and then she sort of pats its head and it begins to calm down.
Interesting. Traditionally, do you go solo?
Traditionally.
Okay, we'll do that then.
Everybody pet the tiger wolf.
Well, you're going to be here for like 8 hours for 100, so.
Yeah.
Aw.
Oh, who has the scrying orb? Do I have it? Yeah,
Mara
I
has it, but nobody's attuned to it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So,
If there's
but it only takes a short rest to attune to something, right?
if there's something you want to know, I think I can cast Scrying now. Unless it's a 5th level spell. That might be a 5th level spell.
It's a 5th level spell.
Yeah, I can't do it yet.
Okay. Well, I'm ready to go right now.
Do you want it? It's not like we can.
I don't need it.
No, we need it to keep an eye on him, but it's not like we can do anything, even if we do see how he's doing.
Shuten whispers to you as you say, like, you're ready to go. He's like, if you have any last questions or anything, I might be able to provide just a little bit more information about what will earn you a good score. Just before you set off, let's talk a bit.
Okay. Let's do that right now then.
Okay. And then Scotty herself begins to make her way out of the hut, presumably to prepare and such like that.
Yeah.
But her bodyguards sort of just stand at the throne.
And I'd like to lead him outside as well, so I can kind of look at the land a little bit too.
Okay. As you make your way outside, the land that you traveled through to get here and that you're presumably going to have to be hunting in is snowy as far as the eye can see.
Okay.
Terrain as varied as rolling hills, dense forests of massive trees, and even a range of snowy mountains in the sort of edge of the cavern, like Earth.
Okay.
And as you sort of walk out and huddle together, Shuten says, "All right, well, just clue you in on a little bit of frost giant lore, the sorts of things that they value in honorable trophies. As she said, size, strength, ferocity. I think anything you can bag will be counted, but those 3 things will get you the most points.
Size, ferocity,
And
and strength.
And strength.
Okay.
But one thing above all, that the frost giant's prize is the body of a Remoraz.
Oh, Remoraz.
Yeah, they're these horrible. You know what a millipede is, or a centipede? Kind of like that, but on massive scale. They burrow under the snow and ice, and then they will leap up at you and swallow creatures your size or my size whole.
Looks like that's what I need to find then.
They in old times were known to prey on frost giant young.
Okay. And is there anything else I should know about these strange insect beasts?
I don't know. He sort of glances at Harmony and he says, "How afraid of fire are you?"
As afraid as other things, I guess. Not really.
All right. Well,
So
they run hot. That's all I'll say, I guess.
okay, good to know.
Melty patches.
The last thing I'll say is that they're typically mountain dwellers. A lot of the biggest prey or
In the
game
mountains.
in this area are mountain dwellers. So
Okay. Thank you. Well, if that's all you have to share, then I guess I'll prepare to leave as well.
you make your way as a group sort of towards the edge of the village, and you see Scotty is there, sort of leaning up against a tree, which is bowing under her weight. And she sees you come in, and she says, "So, time to set off."
Yep. I'm ready when you are.
All right. Let's go.
Okay.
And she pulls from her hip a horn that's like a bone horn that seems to be made from one of the same dragon bones as the throne. But it's also like carved with all these giant runes, and she blows one long, loud note into it, birds scattering from the trees at the mere sound of it. And then she, with a heavy thud that shakes the earth around her, begins to take off in a dash into the snowy land.
Yep. And
Just
then
pumping her massive arms.
A blessing before you go.
Okay.
And Thaddeus casts protection from energy to protect and give you fire resistance.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It lasts
How long
for
does that last?
an hour.
Okay.
Which is the longest lasting spell I think that I can give you.
Okay. Thanks, Thaddeus. I'm off.
Good luck.
Thanks.
I can't actually help you the way I've been helping these guys, so.
Oh, were you? Oh, okay. You have to launch it. Yeah. All right. And yeah, I'll follow her into the snowy land, I guess.
All right.
Good luck. You can do
Let me.
it. Don't let her seduce you.
No promises.
You take off into the wilderness.
Yeah.
Amidst flurries of light snow.
Okay.
And it's not long before you find yourself out of sight of the village, and with Scotty completely out of sight as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Play way faster than me.
Why don't you make me a survival check?
Sure. I can do that.
I don't know, Ingol is not much faster than me.
Yeah. That was a 19, not anymore. Okay, so we got a 15. 16.
16. You find a wide variety of signs of animals. This biome of this place is rich with life.
Okay.
But all things in giant proportion. So you find tracks that look like goat tracks, but they're huge, much bigger than any natural goat. You find signs of boars scratching against trees, but they leave gashes from their tusks that are bigger than any you would find back in Freydin or the Elderhaven Reaches. You find prints from wolves, and also these large, sort of unidentifiable, round footprints that you sort of can't place what they might be, but they're definitely the biggest set that you find. And that's sort of what you find in the snowy area.
Okay. So it's the whole place is a snowy area. You mean like?
Sorry, yeah, the snowy fields before you
fields?
get to like a forest or.
So if I head towards the mountain ranges, then how long would that take me? Or
Probably another hour or so.
Okay.
To like get up into the mountains.
yeah, if that's where the thing I need is. Okay. Well, I'll keep surveying and like kind of like cataloging what kind of wildlife there is and the tracks that I'm seeing and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. The thing that sticks out for the three categories you were given were like big, strong, and ferocious. These like wolf tracks would probably count for ferocious, and also those massive round footprints, which are probably like the size of one of these tables each. It probably belongs to a large creature of some kind. But they don't seem to be heading towards the mountain, so you're going to ignore them and head off.
I'm gonna keep heading off. I figured that I would spend probably the first half or whatever of the time like surveying and kind of getting like a lay of the land, and then start like zoning in on what I want to prey on or what I want to actually.
Yeah, okay. In that case, we'll just give you sort of a list of the things that you find with that check so far.
Okay, but I am looking for that. What's it called? The Rimmerons? Rimmerons?
Yep.
Yeah.
You see signs of large birds in the trees. You see those goat tracks. You see the signs of boars. There's also signs of giant elk. Some sort of massive bear tracks. Those wolf tracks, and then those huge round footprints that are sort of unidentifiable to you.
Okay.
But if you ignore those and head off towards the mountain, The wind begins to pick up, but the snow kind of dies off. And I need you to make a Constitution save throw against the cold. Now that you've been out here for about an hour.
Okay. That is a 22.
22. Okay, you're fine. It's beginning, like frost is forming on your plates and things, but you're able to weather through it without issue. Go ahead and then, as you get a little bit closer to the mountains, make another survival check.
Survival? Okay.
Yep.
I have a uniform.
That's not good. That is a 9
9. Okay.
plus 7.
You're still seeing. You're basically at the foot of the mountains now, and you're still seeing signs of those massive, round footprints.
Okay.
But you seem to have lost track of pretty much everything else that you were tracking, like the large birds and the
Okay.
elk and the boars and things like that.
Okay.
Still no signs of anything centipede or millipede-like at this
So
point.
he said that they were like underground, right?
Yeah, they burrow in the snow and they dwell in the mountains, and you're sort of at the foot of the mountains.
Okay. So is there an easy path up the mountains, or do I have to just like
You're gonna have to rock climb it.
climb it / fly where I lose
I mean,
footing
how
and
much
stuff?
how much time do you have on your boots?
A lot.
Then yeah, you could, like, if you've got up to like an hour of flight, you could theoretically make your way up the mountain much quicker than otherwise.
Okay. I figured I would climb as much as I could and then fly if I feel like it's too dangerous, if I lose my footing or something like that.
Okay.
As a secondary. So
Yeah, then you can probably cut that time pretty much in half.
okay.
So why don't you go ahead and just make an athletics check to see how
Alright.
difficult it is for you in general.
That's a 20.
Okay, yeah. So between your boots and your natural strength and ability, you manage to climb up the mountains just fine. In places, it's sheer vertical, straight up, like icy cliffs, just walls of ice. And in other places, it's more of a rocky slope. But you make your way upward, and by the time that your second hour sort of rolls around, you are high up in the mountains, overlooking the entire snowy valley. And you can see the longhouse of the Frost Giants,
Okay.
sort of nestled in between a couple hills a ways away. Go ahead and make another Constitution saving throw. That's cool.
Sure. If I wear wild clothes, would that help me?
It would if you've got one of those.
I mean, I have like robes and stuff. I have like let's see, I have those like really old robes still.
The old, you mean the ones that
Yeah,
have the
that have
burnt
like-
armpits?
I have noble's clothes. I have the robes, and
Unless you've got like winter wear,
nah, I don't have underwear.
then yeah, you're gonna
Okay.
be unprotected from the cold.
That is fine. That is 15.
15, okay, just fine. Your joints definitely are getting stiffer a little
Yeah,
bit, but
Sure.
no, nothing you can't power through.
Okay.
And now, at the beginning of your third hour, you're up in the mountains, and now you could, according to Shuten's information, possibly find these creatures. So why don't you roll a survival check?
Okay.
Also, from this vantage point, even without rolling a check, you can catch a glimpse of down in the valley what was probably leaving those big tracks.
Okay.
And it's just their scale is evident from the fact that you can see them from this far.
Mm-hmm.
They are these incredibly large, hairy, elephant-like creatures with long tusks. You could see herds of 5 or 6 of them just milling about the fields.
Okay. How
Mammoths.
big are they? Oh, mammoths.
Yep. They, I think, are huge in size category.
Like that definitely checks some boxes, but I don't think I could like bring it back with me. Right. So.
Maybe just the test.
Oh yeah, maybe it's just a trophy of the beast, not
Yeah.
the beast itself. So that's tough. So survival. Okay, that's a 22.
Okay. As you're investigating around here, you begin to find areas of the snow where it looks like there's unnatural piles of it. Basically, like there's nothing here. There's no tree for the snow to have fallen off or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something must have like burrowed its
Burrowed.
way into the snow near here and created this pile sort of behind it. And searching around those areas, you find essentially a entrance to an ice cave that has basically a mouth to it that is probably 10 or so feet wide, maybe 12 feet wide.
Okay.
But it's kind of like hidden under this cleft of rock and snow.
What other creatures are in the mountains that I've seen?
With
Are there like small things and stuff, or
yeah,
like,
there's lots of smaller things.
like prey animals and stuff?
Those
or-
wolves and bears that I mentioned would still be
Okay.
here. Those elk would still be here. You also find up here two sort of mysterious sets of footprints, both huge in scale.
Okay.
Not quite as, probably about as large, maybe similar, maybe a little bit smaller to the mammoth footprints as well. But one of them is like this three-toed creature with it has kind of these bulbous toes,
Okay.
and it seems to have 6 legs to it. But each one of these footprints left behind is incredibly large.
Okay.
The other set of footprints you find around here is almost human-like, except that it has a 6th toe to it,
Okay.
and it is incredibly large.
Is there a lot of like vegetation around here too, like berries and other things
Mhm.
that they would eat
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
Is there any way that I could like find or like identify if any of it's like poisonous?
Yeah, you could roll a survival check.
Okay, I'll try that. That says 17.
You would find a couple of varieties of plant that are poison. Some
Okay.
in more leaf form and some in berry form.
Okay, so what I want to do is I want to track down and kill an elk and use it as bait and poison it.
Okay, easy enough. With your survival check from before, you find an elk, no problem. Why don't you go ahead and roll a... Are you just going to try and like sneak up on it?
Yeah, I'm totally gonna do that with my sneaky plates. Sneaky plates. Sneaky plates.
Alright, let me see how the wind and snow is doing to see whether you have advantage on this.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's very calm up here. There's no snow and no wind.
Okay, well, hopefully I can outrun it. Or I want to speak with animals.
Oh my
Or
god.
fucking like trick it.
Oh my god.
Hey, baby. Okay. Well, I'll try sneaking first.
Okay.
Let's see what I got here.
You find a herd of
It's pretty good.
3 giant elk sort of grazing on plant life underneath the snow.
Okay, I got a 20.
Yes.
All right.
You think that you could easily sneak up behind this
I will
group
do
of
that.
elk. They sort of all have their backs turned the same
Okay.
direction.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Run up behind it, and then what are you doing? You grabbing onto it?
Just grabbing onto it and like bringing it down and like trying to.
Go ahead and make a athletics check or acrobatics check.
Okay. That is athletics is a 23.
Yeah, it got a 15. So you managed to grab onto this elk and sort of pull it to the ground, and the other elk that are around it sort of, their heads go shooting straight up. They catch sight of you, and bolt into the woods, but you've got this one sort of wrestled to the ground.
All right, so I'll. Do I poison it or do I kill it? I guess I would kill it, and then I would. Well, no, I'll try. I'll just stuff the poison berries inside of it.
Okay. It is sort of a... you have to hold on to it for like a minute or two before the poison begins to take effect. So it's sort of a long and drawn-out thing, but within a few minutes it begins to sort of foam a little bit at the mouth, and then goes limp.
No animals were harmed in making this video.
No real animals were harmed, of course. I feel so. Oh my gosh. I feel bad right now. Okay, well,
And I think at that point, let's cut back to the group of you.
Are we gonna tell them?
Well, do you want to be doing something? You're basically standing at the gate of the village, having watched Hunter stalk off into the flurries of snow to make his hunt. And the group of you are here sort of without direction. And Shuten sort of looks to the group of you and says, look, I don't really know what we're supposed to do, so I'm just going to go and drink with those guys back in the longhouse.
Yeah, let's go inside the
You can do
longhouse
whatever
where
you
it's
want.
warm.
And you see that the frost giants that were milling about the village, several of them are like dragging trees back into the village itself and propping them up, and then sort of decorating them with pelts and like antler ornaments and things like that.
Is Bianca with us?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ride on Bianca's back. I don't know if I'm too big for that.
I think you're just okay for that.
Because I'm barefoot. in
Yeah,
the
that'd be
snow.
freezing.
Yeah. So I kind of don't want to walk anymore. So I kind of asked Bianca very nicely, do you mind if I ride on your back?
He just kind of like puts his neck down for you to get up there.
Scramble up. I scritch his ears.
Fluffs his fur.
Noble steed.
But how hunters doing, guys?
I mean, he's been gone for 10 minutes. Like, let it be. Come on, let's go party with the giants.
I thought we weren't supposed to do that until after we'd been accepted as a friend.
Well, we can at least, like,
Well, let's go find money something
we
anyway.
can make some friends. Like, just because Hunter's off doing his challenge doesn't mean we can't prove that we're not
It's fair.
in different ways. And I think by doing that, to do that, we need to drink a lot.
Possibly so.
Are you up for the challenge, Daddy?
Sure.
I like this plan.
Right, so the group of you sort of make your way back into the longhouse, and that same group of giants that was in there before seems to have started up an arm wrestling contest. And there's a male and a female frost giant, and they're just struggling against each other. There's gridlock. There's like no movement between either of their arms, and they struggle at it for like 5 or 10 minutes, it seems like, before one of them finally begins to get a little bit of traction, and then the other one pushes back the other way, and it finally slams to the ground, shaking it under your feet.
Wonder if we're allowed to wager on that.
Yeah, that's what you see when you come in. Scotty's bodyguards seem to be still standing at the throne, like guarding her weapons. But other than that, all activity in this hall is either preparation of like a giant boar over there that is being seasoned and slowly cooked over a fire, or putting up like tree branch decorations, like almost like a you know,
Swag.
tinsel type thing,
Hmm.
right, around the longhouse in preparation. What would you guys like to do?
Yeah, that is Transforming. I didn't see anyone drinking here.
The ones that were doing the arm wrestling competition, they have a cask of ale in giant proportions next to them that they have tapped, and they're pouring out mugs. Each mug being like the equivalent of a swimming pool to each of them.
I point.
Well,
Thaddeus calls out, shall we have a toast to the defeat of Emd?
Like the male one who just lost in the arm wrestling competition kind of like looks over at you, and with sort of a sneer, he's like, "Oh, yeah, I heard about you. Sure, whatever. Pull up a seat."
I think Thaddeus and Mara working together pull up the seat.
No, as I see you going towards it, I just use telekinesis to pull the seat up.
Okay.
and then we move.
Harmony, when you cast that spell and pull the seat up with magic, the female giant stands from her seat and like backs up against the wall.
I scramble up.
Yeah, and the male giant turns to you and like sort of like looks you directly in the eye. His eyes each being like the size of your entire body, and says, "Look, if you want to be fitting in around here at all, I'd stop using that magic. Some people ain't too keen on it."
Wow, some people are really judgy.
And he kind of like shrugs.
Harmony.
Frost giants don't have the biggest history with magic. That's more cloud giant, stone giant bullshit.
Can I have some ale?
And he kind of like looks down at the cask. He's like, "Fine, we have plenty. In the spirit of Thrymtide, as it were."
Thank you.
And he
Thaddeus bows.
puts a mug of ale in front of, or next to each of you. That is, like I said,
A house
swimming
of
pool
ale.
size.
I was trying to see
So
if
all
I had
three
a
of you
cups
have
in my
a thing of ale.
Comico.
Like a barrel of
Yeah,
ale.
and
That's
comic
what it
as
is.
well.
Okay, I'd like to get Pinky out and tell him his secret passcode and send him out to do pickpocketing because the giants won't notice.
Okay. Sure.
If he can kind of pickpocket giant things, this might be awkward. We'll see what he comes back with.
If he comes back.
He comes back.
Yeah.
He will. He loves you.
Yeah, I don't have any empty bottles because I
I know
put
they have those big wolves here, right?
I put that glowy sea plant in all of my empty bottles. But you should have an empty bottle.
I
So
you
careful.
I'm pretty sure that I do have some empty bottles.
You have at least one because you
Yeah.
drank the potion last time.
Yes.
All right. Well, if each of you is drinking, I need Constitution saving throws because this is strong stuff.
All right. Y'all are all near me, so you get my +4.
I have a pretty high con bonus
If
too.
you don't want it. That's not bad.
This one.
15.
15. Okay, Mara, you're drunk.
24.
Thaddeus, you're mildly tipsy, but you're in control of your faculties.
But it's a +4 from you, so 14.
Oh,
Harmony,
I didn't
you're
add
drunk.
those. I'm sorry, it's 19. Forgot to add his +4.
Yeah, after you guys drink this, like even just a few sips of this ale, it is strongly alcoholic, like mostly alcohol. It is
Strong
designed.
stuff.
It is designed to get one of these massive creatures drunk. And the giant kind of regards Thaddeus after having taken a big drink of it and says, "Not bad for something so small." And then he kind of like looks over at Harmony and
I'm, like,
Mara.
Dancing in circles on top of the bench, just like woo!
Thaddeus smiled and said, I've been to university.
The giant just says, "What's university?" And basically just sort of like gives a little sneer at the two of you who are just drunk. Let's cut back to Hunter, who has prepared.
Are you still drunk even though your bonus was?
Yeah.
I think so, because I'm small.
Well, so is that.
Hunter's ears burning. What are they
That
doing
is,
now?
I think that has got above a 20. Nobody else did.
I rolled a 3 on that.
You're
By the way, I
Dang.
rolled a 3. There was
Wow.
no way I was gonna pass that.
Yeah. That's a
Um,
really good plus save, though.
Well, because it's one of my
Oh,
proficiencies,
okay.
and then he.
Yeah. Okay,
So Hunter, you've killed this deer,
I did.
and you have it prepared and ready to be used as bait. Where would you like to place it?
In front of the ice cave.
Okay.
And are there like rocks that I can like grab as just like to throw?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
stones and
there
things
are.
like that? Okay. So I'll grab a couple rocks, or a few rocks, and then, yeah, I'll head over back to that ice cave and I'll kind of... First thing I want to do is, I want to, like, I guess listen or, like, try and, like, make sense of if there's any movement inside that cave, or, like, the mouth of the cave.
Okay, make a perception check.
Sure. So, the rule with passive perception,
You can use your passive.
22.
Okay. Yeah, it's occasional stirring, but you more than hear, you feel vibrations in the ground as
Okay.
something moves around in there, just slight adjustments every now and again.
Okay. So yeah, I will quietly place the carcass in front of the mouth of the cave, so then hopefully the smell sort of walks in or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will hide behind a nearby tree or some cover.
Okay, make a stealth check.
Sure. I'm pretty good at these now, as I roll terribly. I don't need to roll stealth checks. An 8.
8. Okay.
Not a disadvantage, okay?
Also make a Constitution saving throw
Sure.
because you're spending more time out in the cold.
That's a nat 20.
Okay, you're good to go.
I've embraced the cold.
If only that was the perception check.
I know! Or the stealth check, yeah.
You spend maybe half an hour or so waiting outside of this cave, waiting for something to happen before you hear the movements or feel the movements, the vibrations in the ground getting more frequent and closer. And they kind of have this exactly what you'd expect, sort of like a skittering pattern to them.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
And little by little, they creep closer and they get stronger You feel them stronger through the ground. Before there's a 5-minute gap of just complete silence. And then bursting from the snow and ice underneath the deer. So it seemingly seems to have tunneled below and then bursts upward is the insectoid body of this creature. Its skin is pale blue. It has 2 massive bug-like eyes and long antennae that curve up its back. It has spikes going down the entire length of its body, and it seems to have anywhere between 30, 40 to 50 legs, insectoid, just going down the
Is
length
that
of
what
its
it
body.
is?
Yes, and then as it leaps up out of the snow, its mandibles clenching on. It has
You
mandibles.
have my attention.
Clenching onto the deer
All right,
itself. This spiny frill flares out from its neck, and as it, in one bite, chomps the giant elk down into its gullet, its legs landing on the ground, its eyes turn to you with a curious look, and it begins to skitter in your direction.
All right,
Make an
here we
initiative
go.
roll.
You poisoned that elk, right?
Yep.
I mean, but like not just poisoned it to kill it, but you put more poison in it.
Yeah, so it stuffed it with all the poison I had.
Okay.
Yep, that's going to be taken into account.
Okay. Here we go.
Initiative.
All right.
Nice.
Do you want my card, or is it just easy to start
I
one?
just need to know what you've got. Really.
Okay, so I got a 21.
21, okay. You're moving first.
How close am I?
This thing is about 30 feet from you. I guess actually, how far would you want to be from it? Where
That's
you
fine.
placed the deer?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, probably about 30 feet. And it is closing the gap rapidly.
So it has. Can I see the picture again? Spikes on its body. Oh, that is a ferocious.
To give you scale, this is a huge sized creature. So it is massive. It is maybe like when it rears its head up, like 15 feet tall, but at full length, it's probably 25 feet long.
All right, let's give it a shot. So. I guess what I'm thinking of is if it's like, because I don't think I could carry this back, could I?
You might have to do some work or figure out a clever solution.
Right. So if I can find a trophy of this beast, I guess that's what I'm sort of looking for, is something.
Something that proves you've killed it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could take its head or something
Okay.
like that proves it's dead.
Well,
for sure.
let's.
All right, have to kill it first.
Let's kill it first. So I guess I will run up there and I will start punching
Okay, yeah.
because I can't.
Yeah, I mean, you
grapple
picked
it.
up rocks. You could throw rocks at it if you want.
Nah, that was more in case it like ate it and then ran away. So I was gonna draw it to me anyways. Okay, well let's start punching it, I guess, because that's all I have, right? Just fists.
Yep.
Gosh, this is not good. And you said it's huge,
Yes.
so I can't use like any of my maneuvers either. Okay. All these require weapon attacks, and punching is not a weapon, right?
No, your unarmed strike would count as a weapon.
It's a weapon?
I think.
Okay.
I mean, if it doesn't normally, for you in particular, I'd say it would.
Okay.
'Cause you've got metal fists.
Sure. Trying to see what I can do here, because none of it actually affects it.
I don't think he has gloves.
Well, can't disarm it. I guess I'll just start smacking it because I don't really have anything. I can't trip it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just make 3 melee attacks against it, I guess, and see what happens. First one is so for the plus to hit with unarmed or
Strength plus proficiency, so it'd be your normal.
okay, so then it would be 18 plus proficiency is 5 right now. Is that right?
Yes.
So that's Should be plus 11. Okay, so 23 for the first hit.
Yes, hits.
Okay, and this is just 1 plus strength for
Mhm.
an arm. Okay,
Yep.
so then that's 7 per hit, I guess.
Okay, that's nice and easy to try.
16 to hit.
That doesn't quite do it. So you get one fist to connect with it, and it's just intensely hot as your fist touches its body.
Okay,
But you break away.
Disadvantage.
at advantage.
Oh, okay.
Because I went first in initiative.
Oh,
You break away pieces of its insectoid body as you clobber it with that.
Yeah, I think my goal here. So it has like a carapace, right, or
Mhm.
something. Is I kind of like focus one spot as much as I can. That
Just
would
like
be
dent
close,
that carapace. Yeah, sure.
and
Do
try
it.
and like break through, and try and like actually get to like the fleshy underbody or something. The meat, and that is a 24 to hit.
Hits.
So that's 7 more damage.
And in total from punching it, on your turn you take 12 points of fire damage as it's just intensely hot
Okay,
like,
so
to the
bad.
touch.
Okay. So maybe on my next attempt, I will, when I realize that, maybe I'll just use the rocks as like bludgeoning,
Oh yeah, that's one way you can do it.
and that way I'm not actually contacting it with my fists.
You don't know for sure that would fix it, but it's worth a shot.
I will give it a shot.
On its turn, it only gets one attack.
Okay.
But it leers over you with its mouth and is going to try and bite down on you.
Okay.
25.
That hits.
You can still have your shield, theoretically, by the way.
Okay. Sure, I'll take that into account.
I'm just going to take the average here.
Okay.
A little bit reduced because it's poisoned. Actually, if it's poisoned, its attack would be at disadvantage. Let me reroll. Oh, that's really just as good. So it still hits.
Okay.
That is 40 points of piercing damage.
Ooh.
All right.
And
you can have.
Yeah, I'll have it.
yeah, halved down because you're resistant.
Okay.
And then 10 points of fire damage. And then you're grappled in its jaws.
I am going to use absorb elements on the fire damage.
Oh, right, yep.
So I'll do that, which is I get resistance from it, and I get 1d6 to my damage when I attack it with a melee attack.
Okay, that's
So-
not going to help you because it's immune.
It's
to fire.
immune? Yeah, okay, so that's fine. But I get resistance, so that's going to have the
Down to 5.
piercing, and I guess it's 25. And I'm grappled, you say?
Then it's your turn.
Okay.
Working yourself up into a scheme of things.
Let's see here.
She?
No, we're here.
So for my bonus action, I'm going to use Second Wind,
Okay.
and then I want to
They were really soft.
break the grapple.
I think he just worked it up.
Yep.
And it's back out.
Dogs. Okay, so you need to make
Like that doesn't
a
feel-
athletics check to try and get out of it.
It's like he's walking around. He's walking.
That is a 28.
28 does break the grapple, so you
Okay.
wrench yourself out of there.
Okay.
And then you'd have 2 more attacks left.
And that will make 2 attacks. Okay, so I rolled 8 for
So you got that wrong.
this. And then I'm going to hit him with the rock.
Okay,
Try and hit him a few more times with that. So I'll do 2 attacks.
so you've got 5 rocks total.
Can I like use him as melee? Just like hold onto it and just hit him with it, like
Yeah,
palm it?
and that's what I assumed you were trying to do.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's
Yeah.
what I
Okay.
understood too.
I got a crit and I got probably a miss, which is it's a 15 to hit. But
The
I
crit will hit.
don't think I want to use that. No. Okay. Yeah, we'll do the crit, and then that's it. So that's just double of
Yeah,
what
you
it
don't
is.
roll any dice, so we'll just double it to 14 damage.
Okay.
And with the force of that attack, a piece of its carapace crunches and dents inward, and it lets out a horrible insectoid roar.
Okay.
But that rock shatters,
Okay,
though you
so
don't
then-
take fire damage.
Okay, great. So then I'll use the rest of the rocks. So that's what I got on my turn.
Okay.
Until I used action, bonus action. I'm not going to move, so.
It sort of skitters around you, diving in and out of the snow, and then tries to get around the back of you and lunges for another attack.
So did it move away from me?
No, it just kind of moves around you,
Oh, okay.
coiling you like a serpent. And at disadvantage, that is only a 14.
Nice.
So you
Okay,
sort
cool.
of catch its mouth on your shield,
Okay, cool.
and then it's your turn again.
All right, I will make some attacks again. More rocks. So let me check one thing real quick, because I got rid of menacing attack, and that would have been really great right now when I swapped it out on one of the levels of Darkling. Okay, I guess I'll just use straight damage then. That's fine. So I'll do 3 attacks.
Okay.
I got the low. Okay, so that one's gonna miss probably because that's a 14, and then I got a. So that's 23, and then I got something higher. Does the 23 hit?
The last 2 hit.
Okay. I am going to use. I think I'll use a couple maneuvers for more damage to try and end this quickly. And I will do. I mean, I don't know if it really matters which ones I do because I don't think it affects it. I can't disarm anything on it, right?
Probably
It's just fighting me. So distracting doesn't work because it only affects my allies. I can't trip it either because it's too big. Can I actually use these just for the damage?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I don't see why not.
The more damage, the better.
Yeah. So I think what I'll try and do is I have pushing attack, so I'll use pushing attack to try and like drive the stones in.
Sure. Yep. do
Yeah,
it.
harder, and then so I'll just roll the extra damage for those. And
So
D10.
both of these would be pushing attacks.
Yes. And that is 10 extra damage plus, what was that, 14, so 24 damage.
Okay. Yeah, it is angrily hissing at you, and as its mouth, when you were in its mouth, and like as it leers at you from its position, just heat emanates from its mouth, and you can see why the frost giants hate these creatures so much, because it's almost as if it has an internal fire burning within it of some sort.
I don't like it either.
It comes at you with another bite.
Okay.
Disadvantage, that's still a 22.
That hits. I don't think I have any way to raise my AC.
Okay. So you can take 20 points of piercing, that's all you have.
Okay, I'm gonna parry that.
Okay.
So
What does parry do? Reduce
that-
the damage?
reduces the damage within from a melee attack using my reaction, and I get my superiority dice plus dex modifier. So that's 7 reduced. So I'm gonna take 13 instead.
Okay.
Okay.
And then 10 points of fire damage.
Okay. So that is
And you're grappled by it again as it gets you in its jaws and rears upward.
okay. So let me count this real quick.
23 total.
Yeah, I had to add from. So it's okay. So I'm still looking okay. Okay. On my turn, I will try and break the grapple. So that's a 1. That's not gonna do it. Yeah, let's try it again. It's a 2. That's not gonna do it. Okay, that's better. That's a 27.
Okay. Yep, that breaks the grapple, and you find yourself free on the
Go away.
ground at the end of your turn.
Okay.
It's going to try to bite you again. Disadvantage, you're lucky because it would have been a natural 20 otherwise.
I would have not been happy about
19.
that. Misses.
Okay. And you duck to the side as its jaws come snapping by you again.
Dangerous critter, man. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah. I
turn.
will make some hits against it, I guess. 3 attacks. I don't think there's any other like nimble special things I can do to this creature, right? Because you said like even touching it's hot.
Yeah.
So I don't want to climb on it. I don't think there's any like terrain I can use on it either. So
I'll say, so its chest area is probably hot, and that's where you've been punching for the most part, but you haven't touched its back yet where all the spikes are.
okay, so maybe on my turn I'll spend some movement to kind of get around it a little bit, like it was doing circling, and then I'll see if I can't like try and
Punch onto
clobber
its
it on,
back?
yeah, on the
Sure.
back a little bit. And if it doesn't look any different,
Go
then
ahead and make a acrobatics check to try and maneuver your way to that advantageous position.
it's not my best, but that's a 20.
20? Yeah. You managed to make your way back there. Its armor looks thicker back here, but it might not break.
Okay, yeah, let's try it. Let's just like take rocks and
Okay.
try and hammer him in there. Let's see what, there they go. So that's a 29 to hit.
Hits.
Alright, how's that looking? Is it taking full damage and,
Yes, it is taking full damage, but it took more force to like plunge the rock in.
okay, and then is it hot?
No.
I'm gonna climb up on its back if I
Okay.
can.
So with your second attack, then make an athletics check to try and climb up.
That's not gonna work. That's a 1.
It rolled a 13 to try and
Okay.
shake you off.
That's a 14.
All right, so you make your way up onto its back and grip onto the spikes.
Okay. And I used, let's see, the acrobatics. I used 1 attack, and then it took 2 tries for the athletics, I guess.
No,
So
that was just an attack. That wasn't an attack. It was you just asking.
You said use your attack to make an
Oh,
athletics check.
To climb up. Yeah.
Oh.
yeah, okay. So I'm out of actions. So that is what I can do. So I guess it's
It
its turn.
will try and shake you off.
Okay.
With a 14. Sorry, that's not correct. Only a 10.
My save is a +11.
So
if I
you manage to hold on to it just fine as it's rearing and shaking you, like slamming you against trees.
Okay.
Your turn.
All right. Let's attack it again. 3 attacks on its back. I got the lowest roll is a 14. That's probably not gonna hit, and then I got a 15 on dice, which is a 26.
Yes. So
Okay, so I got 2 hits.
2 hits.
And then are those taking any different effects, or are they
Nope.
working okay? All right,
Okay.
cool. So in that case, I will use Action Surge and make 3 more attacks.
That happened sometime.
And then I will make, I guess, let's see how they do. Those are all really bad. 15, 18, and 20.
20 hits, even on its back.
Okay. Oh, he has higher AC probably, yeah. Okay, well, I'll do that. I'll make that one a pushing attack, so then that gets
So you
plus
kind of like shove it down into the snow with this one.
8, so that's 15 damage from 1 attack.
And then how many times did you hit it in your first wave of attacks?
Twice?
Twice, so
Yeah.
14.
But he did it once, and then he hit it twice more, and then he hit it once more. Just now.
So that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
calculate altogether. And then with your superiority dice, it was how much total?
It was 8 extra.
So 15.
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
15.
Correct. Yep.
So I think he's done a total of 36 to its back.
Yep.
If I'm not right.
That's what I got. Okay. It is going to try to shake you once more.
Okay.
Make a strength saving throw. You're looking to beat a 21.
So strength or athletics?
I guess technically it would be athletics.
22.
Oof, you just managed to stay on, which is important because it basically is trying to shake you off the edge of a like 30-foot drop. And it is shaking you in that direction. Your turn.
These
Okay.
little attacks are helpful.
Oh gosh. Okay. That's good. The lowest roll is a 24.
Hit.
Okay, so I'm gonna make 3 hits on him then. It's 21 damage.
You've managed at this point to climb your way up to its head, and you're just with your fists pounding into the carapace on the back of its head.
Yeah.
And bits of its frill have like dented inwards, and it's not looking.
So I feel
very
like I'm like grabbing it maybe around its neck if it's not hot or something.
good.
and
The
then,
neck is hot.
It
but,
is
like,
hot?
You can grab it by like the spikes and
Okay,
things
the
like
spike. Yeah. So spikes and yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Okay.
Alright.
Makeshift javelin.
It is just
Yeah.
going to try one
Oh,
more
that's a
time.
good idea. Okay, sorry.
It's going to try one more time to throw you off that cliff. Not very high. That's only a 8.
Plus 11. So
Yeah, you're good. The poison seems to be doing well for you.
the what?
The poison seems to be doing well for you. Like you can tell that this creature's movements like they're
sluggish and
slower
stuff,
than they should be, that sort of thing.
So that's really metagaming. I'm not gonna do it because I didn't think about it. but I really want to. That's a great idea. But unfortunately, you guys aren't there.
Yeah.
What is it?
Very,
They
very
said-
honorable of you.
They said
Very modern.
pull off a spike and use it.
We
Oh.
could scry, and then I could use my ruby to send a message.
No. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I love that idea though. Okay. So
I mean, I'm fine with you doing that.
13's not gonna. I do really want to do it.
If
But
it does it, you can never, ever, ever tease me again.
I'm not.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn one of these into a pushing attack to do extra damage again,
Okay.
and then I got 2 hits out of 3, and that's an extra 7 damage. So that's effectively 3 hits, so 21 damage to the skull.
Yeah, you've caved in a portion of its skull, and now even though you're on its back, if you continue to punch this area, it's going to be very hot. Like you're feeling heat radiate from that part of its body.
Oh, on this part of it too. Okay.
Okay, its turn. I mean, you're on its back. I don't think it can like bite you unless it throws you. So it tries again.
All right.
This time much better. A 21.
All right. I got a 19, but is it a saving throw?
It's an athletics check.
Not a saving throw.
That's what we just figured out.
Okay. Because there's a saving throw, I could use Indomitable on it.
The note.
So it
I'm sorry.
finally manages to throw you to the ground, and
Okay.
then leaving your threat range, digs underground
Does that mean I
and
can?
under the snow and away from you a little bit. But you can see like where its body touches the snow melts next to it.
You can't take an OA at disadvantage, I think.
Am I on the ground?
Yeah, you'd be prone where you were thrown, but you
Okay.
could take an OA at disadvantage if you want.
Instead, I wonder if I can like grab onto it.
Sure, I'll allow it.
Can I can I grab onto it and try and like pull it back?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean basically try and stop its movement.
Yeah, stop its movements.
You're looking for a 21.
29.
Athletics check.
Ooh. So I'm just digging my heels in.
You got 21, you said?
I got 29.
29, dang.
Yeah.
So you dig in your heels and it can't get away from you. You've
Looks
still
like-
got it by the tail, basically.
Looks like we're wrestling after all.
Yeah, I guess so.
Then it's your turn.
Okay, so what do I do here? It's still trying to dig away though.
Mm-hmm.
Punch it.
In the tail.
Punch it in
Is
the
it-
butt.
Let's see here. So it's spikes everywhere, right?
Yep.
Is there any like a tree next to me or something?
Yeah.
Can I like slam the spikes into the tree
Oh, sure. Yeah.
and try and like stop it and then start like then run up and start like hitting it again or something?
Just make a athletics check. We'll say the DC is 17.
23.
Yeah, you jam one of its spikes into the tree
So I
and it
just shove it in there.
holds it for the minute, but like the tree is bowing over. So it might
Okay.
not hold for long.
How much of it's underground?
Like 3/4 of its body, perhaps, is under the snow at this point.
I am going to. Let's see. Run up to where it is, where it's burrowing, and I'm just going to start. I guess like smashing it with the rocks.
Yeah. At this point, I will say probably you've got like 2 rocks left. The rest have sort of crumbled.
Are there
under
any
the intense
more
barrage.
that I can grab on the way?
Not in like reaching distance, but you could like go away and grab one if you wanted to.
Just one?
1 or 2.
Okay.
You've still got 2 left.
Well, I guess I don't need to if it's back, right? It's not on the back.
Yeah, I mean the distance between the back and
I'm only using the rocks if it's like. Well, I guess on the hard shell and if it's. Yeah, okay, so in this case, I'll just try and like sever the tail, I guess, by just like
okay, sure. Monster
smacking it
Hunter.
a bunch. Alright. Is it prone? Or
No.
anything? Okay. So I'll just get 3 attacks. This is a weird fight. Okay, so we got a
No
16,
Doesn't quite do it.
19,
Does it?
and then a higher than that. So 2 hits on the tail.
21 total.
No, 14.
Sorry, you're right.
Very honorable.
And it whips around and burrows its way back out of the snow melting as it comes, and begins to lunge at you for a bite now.
Okay.
Shaking its tail loose of the tree. With disadvantage, that is a 20.
Miss.
Miss. So yeah, you catch it on its shield as it comes to bite you.
Barely.
You can feel the
Barely.
heat
Oh my
on the
gosh.
edges of the shield.
All right.
Turn.
I'm gonna try and climb up on it again because that was really effective.
Okay. You are fishing for a 15.
20.
Okay, yeah, with your athletics, you managed to climb back up onto it.
Okay, and back up there again. Start smacking it, I guess.
So you got 2 attacks left.
Yeah, how's it looking?
Damaged, but like I said, since you beat on the carapace of the back enough, like, there's heat coming from it at this point.
Okay. So I'll use the remaining rocks. Can I get to the head at this point, or is it just the back?
Yeah, you could get up to the head.
All right, I'll just start hitting his skull again. See if I can.
Brain.
In the brain, the mandibles. I'm working my way to the mandibles, but it's really hot. So, some more attacks. Okay, I got an 18, 19 on die, so I think those are gonna hit.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 2 hits.
Okay, and then one of your remaining rocks is broken, so you're down to 1.
Okay. And I guess that's my turn.
And then it will, I guess, try to throw you. Ooh, 16 and 17 on dice. So you're looking for a 23.
26.
Yeah, you managed to stay on its back just fine.
All right,
Your turn.
3 more attacks.
One more rock.
1 more rock. I got a 16, a 19, and a 24.
The 19 and the 24 will hit.
Okay, so that's 2 hits.
And with this, like, the rock gets so hot that if you hold on to it anymore,
Okay.
like, you're going to be taking damage from holding the rock, basically. But you get in 2 hits nonetheless. And it is looking very hurt, but you're out of rocks at the moment.
All right.
Tries to throw you, and it can't.
Okay.
Your turn.
Use your fists.
I'm using my fists. That's all I have, so here we
Like
go.
a giant.
Mott! Alright, 3 attacks. I don't think I have anything else I can do, so. Well, 2 of those are going to miss. So I will get 1 hit in. It was a 16, and then I got a 24.
The 24 hits.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I'll get 1 hit. The fists. And. Yeah.
It, unable to throw you on its own, on its turn, throws itself off the 30-foot cliff that it has been trying to throw you off.
Okay.
And both of you are going to take some falling damage.
Can I was gonna say, can I reactively, like...
Not as a reaction, no.
Okay.
It takes 13 and you take 13
Okay.
points of bludgeoning damage, and I need you to make a strength saving throw to hold
Yes.
on to it.
Okay.
As it hurls itself off this 30-foot cliff and you land with a
It
heavy
is a
cut.
strength saving throw.
Okay, well I got a 16 on die plus
Okay,
11.
yeah. I mean,
so...
as it rights itself, you're still clinging onto
Oh
the back
yeah,
of this thing.
death grip on this thing.
Then it's your turn.
Alright, well, 3 more attacks coming at it. And we got really bad rolls.
Oh no.
I got a 10, which is a 21, so that's probably 1 hit.
Okay.
And then other than
This one
that,
hit.
yeah, and then not good, so.
And how do you want to kill this thing?
Yes! Yes! Okay, I want to kill this thing. I really want to kill it by like wrapping around it and like punching it right in the mandibles, like knocking it out cold.
I mean, yeah, as you punch it straight in the mouth and like plunge your fist into the depths of its mouth, you do take 5 points of fire damage.
That's fine.
But you like punch straight into its mouth, and you feel your fist connect with a soft membrane at the top of its head. You keep pushing. There's something that ruptures there, and then the thing writhes under you before falling limp. Its head sort of draping off the side of the cliff, with you clinging onto the back just there.
Oh boy. Alright.
Jeez. What are you gonna take this trunk?
Well, if I can take the whole thing, I'd take the whole thing. So, but it's a really big creature.
I'll come back to you in a second.
Sure thing. Yeah. I'll think about it. Let me think about it. Maybe a clever way to do this.
Mara and Harmony are drunk. Thaddeus, you're doing okay, but a little bit tipsy. You're basically just feeling good.
Yeah.
It's
buzzed.
been a couple hours.
I am
What do you want to have done with those hours?
talking to the female giant that was scared of my magic, and I'm trying to convince her how magic isn't anything to be scared of and how it's amazing. But I'm like super drunk, so I'm like, let me tell you about this thing. This magic thing. I'm just talking to her about how awesome my magic is.
She burps bubbles.
The giant is sort of like listening to this with like arms crossed and a stern gaze. Roll a persuasion check at disadvantage.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Perfect.
I definitely rolled a 1. So 11.
11? Yeah, she says, "There's nothing your magic can accomplish that my 2 fists cannot.
Wanna bet?
I am not a betting woman, but I will prove it to you, small thing. Not small person, small thing."
Oh, ouch.
Okay, big thing. Prove it to me.
And she basically like gestures and says, "Fine, show me what your magic can do."
Frost giant just burned.
I think Thaddeus has been talking to the male giant about, like, food found in the wild.
Uh-huh.
Basically, like, comparing meals that they've had.
Yeah, I mean, he will. He is
Thaddeus is not like a
similarly-
hunter, but he has spent time surviving in the wilderness.
Right, and this giant is similarly tipsy, and like you haven't used any magic or done anything that he views as like not giant, and so he's actually pretty.
Also, a king to fire giant.
Yeah, and he's heard of that, and so like as far as a frost giant can be warm to something, right? He's warm to you.
Okay.
And he's sort of like talking animatedly with you.
It probably helps that Thaddeus is not like, is the only person here not shivering.
Yeah, there's that too. And so he starts talking. He says, "Well, there was this one time I was out hunting with a group of Jotun, and we came across a polar bear the size of, I couldn't even describe it, perhaps the size of one of these longhouses. You wouldn't believe it.
Oh.
We slew it. It brought his pelt back as trophies. It was glorious.
How did it taste?
Delicious.
Mm.
Gamey, but delicious."
Like chicken.
I'd like to try some of that sometime.
And he sort of like goes to like pat you on the back, and it sends you like spiraling forward. He says, "I bet you would. We'll see what old what Scotty brings back for the Thrymtide feast tonight. We have giant boar, as you can see, but I imagine that Scotty will bring back a mammoth or something."
I look forward to that.
Hey, Daddy.
The
I
bromance
wonder if they have
develops.
octopus here.
Have you ever eaten octopus?
So, sorry, what? Gesundheit.
One of these things.
One of these things.
Roll a performance check.
That's the best thing. Oh my god. I love
And
that
he's the one
so
that's
much.
not drunk.
You say he's tipsy. I'm guessing he's been drinking this whole time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
18.
Oh,
18.
yes.
He says, "I know the one,
Right?
but it has a different word in giant."
Teach me that.
I don't know what the word would be.
Well, he teaches it to me.
Yeah, and it takes like 5 or 10 minutes for you to get a pronunciation he's satisfied with.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
But
especially because we're drunk.
yeah, Thaddeus now knows one word in giant. It's
Okay.
octopus.
Ah,
Put it in your proficiencies. Octopus and giant.
languages, celestial, comet, elvish, and one word of giant.
Harmony, what are you doing to prove this giantess wrong about magic?
I look at Mara's with me or with Sadie? I'm with you. You're with me. I look at Mara and I say, "Watch this," and I polymorph her into a giant ape.
The giantess like starts, like she's frightened of it at
I
first.
feel like your
you're
wild
about
magic
to cast that.
should just go off.
Well, I
So
almost used Tides of Chaos for
But
the
you're also drunk.
Constitution. Yeah, that's up to
Does Mara want to let this happen?
Yeah, so I go, okay, I'm a big gorilla now, so I'm
close.
bigger. I'm gonna go give the giantess a kiss on the cheek.
Giant
Hold on.
Oh my god.
Give me just a second. I'm pulling up giant ape stats.
A giant ape is the strongest beast that I can polymorph anything into.
Right.
Strength wise?
Like the highest
Like CR level.
CR level.
Oh, okay.
Mara, as a giant ape, you have an AC of 12, and as you approach this fire giant, she pulls a great axe from her back and swings it at you. Just like as you get close, like she's still reeling from having seen magic cast. She's clearly afraid of it. That's a natural 20.
Oh no!
Wow.
I
I
don't
would
know.
think giant apes have a lot of hit points.
Yeah.
Uh,
You have 157 hit points. as a
What?
giant.
That's
lot.
so much! Holy crap, I did not realize it was that strong. What's the CR level now?
They are CR
I'm gonna say like 7.
7.
you take 45 slashing damage in your giant ape form as she just swings the axe straight into you.
Why
says,
does she have
"Stay back!"
friends
You still
at
gonna-
the feasting table?
They
I don't
all
think
do.
you can kiss her on the cheek.
Yeah. So over half your hit points.
It's your turn.
It's your turn. Your initiative.
I'll say that wasn't very nice.
Well, I can't speak
You see
now
what I mean?
because I'm an ape.
Yeah.
You can't change
I mean-
things into creatures like
Yeah,
that.
but I can pummel creatures into a pulp.
Yeah, but you said you could do anything I could do.
Yeah, it's all the same.
It's not the same. You're a cheater. That's not very mod of you.
Whoa, Harmony.
Is Mara
Harmony.
going to do anything?
I'm going to try to grab the axe and fling it away while
Okay.
she's
You're not
distracted.
listening to
Uh,
this. You're
While
off
she's
having
distracted.
buddy
I
time.
think
Roll-
when you're shouting at someone being
roll an
a cheater,
Yeah,
athletics
I'm very little in a room full of giants.
Don't miss.
Your bonus is +9 as a giant ape.
Okay, athletics.
Yeah, so it's +9. It's not.
Oh, okay.
You're looking
so,
to beat a 28.
No, 17.
As you grab onto the axe with your monkey hands, she grips tighter and rips it from your grip and says, "Call your pet off."
She's
Do it
not
now.
my pet. She's my friend. And then I'll say, you should probably stop trying to attack her.
Okay, so then I'll just do like apes do, and I'm just gonna roll back to Harmony.
but you're huge.
Yeah, but you know what
Okay.
I do.
I mean, she fits in.
Yeah.
Like
Giant ape, giant frost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the building is now scaled for Mara, so that's.
Yeah.
Um,
Things normal size.
the frost giant sheaths her great axe again and sort of storms off in a huff, feeling vindicated, having proven her point.
She did not prove anything.
Oh my
Maybe
god.
not to you, but in her way. And a couple hours later from that scene, Hunter, how do you come
Okay.
into the village?
Alright, hang on.
Okay.
I have this crazy idea. I have 2 spell slots left.
All
I
right.
have good berries and speak with animals. I want to fashion what's called
no!
a sleigh. And I want to offer good berries to these elk deer.
Okay,
That you killed their brethren.
Well, I mean,
find some different ones.
some different ones, right? And have them do me a small favor at the DM's discretion for these great berries.
They're
help me-
good berries at best.
Well, decent berries, good berries.
They're
And have them
berries.
help me bring this into the Frost Giant town.
I mean, yeah. Okay, go ahead and roll
Please don't persuasion.
just like a
So
roll an intelligence, like as if you were crafting something to try and build a crude
Okay, just
sleigh
crafting.
out of trees and things like that.
yeah, okay. That's good, actually. So I got a 17 on die, and then I have intelligence +2, so 19.
So you
I have
managed
woodcarver's
to,
tools,
that will help. Sure.
so then I'm proficient, so then that's a 25?
Yeah.
24.
Without issue, you manage to chop down a few trees, split one in half to create rails,
Okay.
and fashion
And I have rope in my
rope
bag.
and things like that
Yeah.
to tie together a crude sled. And then what was your plan for getting the elk to do your
I'm
bidding?
gonna offer them good berries. I have
Okay.
2 spell slots. I've
Speak
speak
with
with animals and good berries.
So you sort of slowly you track down and approach a group of giant elk with good berries in hand, and then you try and approach them with the good berries extended slowly.
Yeah, and I'll talk to them too.
Roll a animal handling check at advantage.
I was about to say, let him do animal handling,
Yeah.
please.
I know. It's never
Animal
gonna
handling.
At advantage
Oh man.
for
Okay.
your spell slot usage.
Here we go. Oh yes. 21.
Okay.
It's gonna
Um,
be amazing.
Oh my god.
the elks slowly, cautiously begin to make their way towards you. And as they approach, they can talk back to you. This
Yeah,
time, speak
I
advantage.
can speak with them.
They say, "You wouldn't happen to be affiliated with the the metallic creature that's roaming these hills this night and slaying elk?
No. I just need a favor from you.
They sort of like sniff the berries in your hand.
And then I'll take one and eat. These are good, and I'll eat one myself.
And it tentatively
And I'll
says,
heal 1 HP. Because I'm hurt.
and we can have those berries?
You can have all of these
We
berries.
help you?
Yes.
And the two of them that are there are kind of like eye each other.
And I'm like, if you two are strong enough to help me bring this a small distance,
These creatures will certainly be strong.
okay, then yes, they're all for you. They're very good, as I like ate one myself.
Yeah, I mean, he tentatively like nibbles a couple of the berries out of your hand, and the other one tentatively nibbles some berries out of your hand. And they look at each other and they say, "Okay, show us what you want us to do."
Okay, and then I'll have them all like help fashion them to like I guess. How would
I don't
do
feel
this?
like you need to drive them. Exactly.
Yeah, I would just direct them
Okay.
on where I want them to go to pull this sleigh.
Sure.
And you're like pulling too. Right?
If I have to, yeah.
You won't have to. but-
Okay, so I would just ride along with it and just watch the.
Yeah, so you load the carcass of this creature up onto the sleigh, and you fashion harnesses for the elk.
With ropes. Yeah. Oh my
Feed
god.
them the remainder of the good berries.
So they're full of nourishment for like 7 days.
Yep. And you saddle up onto the sleigh, point them in the direction, and they begin to charge down the mountain towards the frost giant longhouses.
Okay.
Just make
Can you ride on the sleigh?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. For the
These are
remaining,
really big elves.
If I can use my jet boots, I'd like to fly with the sleigh and make
you probably
jingling
can't
noises.
keep up. Yeah, these elves
Just
have a
kidding.
speed of 60, so
No, okay, yeah.
they're cruising. For the remaining hour, it's going to take you to get back from where you're at. Go
Uh-huh.
ahead and make a Constitution saving throw.
Sure. I got a 14 plus 7, so 21.
Okay.
Is that for ice? Or cold?
Yeah, actually, because the snow begins to come down heavily at this point,
Mhm.
you actually have to make that a disadvantage.
Sure.
Unfortunately.
So 14 for the first one, and then I got a 15 for the second one.
Yep. So you're fine.
I have Indomitable. Ready to go.
You're sort of huddled up in the like warm remains of the Remerons.
I guess it is hot. Yeah, it's warm. Just like a.
That's my dad.
Okay.
It is rapidly
Empire
cooling,
Strikes
but
Back.
several
Right.
hours
Yeah, exactly.
after that scene we just had with Thaddeus and Harmony and Mara,
By the time he gets back, I'm curled up sleeping next to.
I feel like the snow's hitting my face, making a beard.
next to Byakko,
Next to the aqua.
you hear the sound of massive hooves thundering towards the village.
Yeah.
And
Jingle bells.
Yeah.
Hunter's armor.
My armor is like jingling.
Silent.
I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Is what it really is. I'm like trying to stay on top of this thing. So it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Instead.
Shuten basically perks up and says, "Hey, that might be Hunter. Should we go greet him?"
Somebody get off this chair. 1, 2.
I push him.
Am I still
Yeah, I
girl?
thought he called.
No, it only lasted
I
an
thought you
hour.
were asleep.
Rats,
You
I
were
wanted
curled up asleep.
I was faking.
Oh
rats, my second.
You
choice
got
was
him.
that.
Yeah, and you guys see the scene of Hunter on a sleigh fashioned from 2 split halves of a tree, charging into town pulled by 2 great giant elk, with the carcass of some insectoid creature slung
With
along
a
the
snow beard, like, whoa, whoa, whoa!
Of goodies.
Wait, what's the festival called?
back. Thrymtide.
Merry Thrymtide!
And as you sort of slide into town shouting that, a couple of the like frost giants who are clad in red themselves with long white beards shout back to you, "Merry Thrymtide!"
Oh my god. That's so perfect. Incredible. Because they all have, the red. Oh, jeez, this is great.
And yeah, just maybe an hour or two within the timeline, you find yourselves back in the village with everyone here. And maybe an hour after that, you hear heavy footfalls as Scotty comes dragging by the trunk the carcass of a mammoth, maybe 2 times her size or so. slowly but surely into the village. She sort of plops it down on the ground next to your sleigh and surveys you and says,
Oh, and I released the elves too, by the way.
okay, so they kind of,
They can. I let them.
They don't have to die here.
Yeah, they don't. Have to.
they tentatively like just leave the village slowly,
Yeah.
eyeing each and every one of the frost giants carefully, and some of the frost giants are like sharpening axes and things, watching them hungrily. They leave the village and go running off into the evening.
Okay.
Between when you arrived and Scotty arrived, did you tell us anything about your battle?
I mean, I don't know how much time. How much time do we have?
We've got like an hour or so.
Yeah, so I would come back and then be like, well, here it is. What I presume is the whatever it's called.
Remoraz.
Looks like you guys have been having fun.
I'm mostly curious. Like, I mostly want to know if you told us that you fed poison.
I mean, probably unless we talk into details. You're like, how
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Thaddeus knows a spell that can purify food and drink.
Oh yeah. So
I'm not going to cast it unless you told me. There's poison all up in that thing.
Yeah. So if you're like, how did you do it? Then I would give you the discretized fashion of what I did to lure it out and stuff.
I mean, but we're not gonna eat it, are we?
Like if we're gonna eat it, yeah.
That is. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we will. It's a feast.
Well, maybe we should. Can you do something about it?
I think so. Give me a second.
Yeah.
It's like cream.
And
Thaddeus is going to cast Purify Food and Drink on the Raymer has his carcass.
And you see punch marks everywhere and stuff.
Just black liquid oozes out of the skin and into the snow away from it when Thaddeus casts the spell, sort of expunging the poison from it. And then Scotty arrives, dragging her mammoth in tow, and she sort of, with a heavy thud, throws it onto the ground next to the carcass of the Remoraz, and eyes you up and down and says, "And you fought this on your own?"
Of course.
She sort of peers down next to it and examines the wounds. She says,
she sees that I'm bloodied as well, so I'm still pretty hurt.
Bite and bludgeon marks.
Oh, yeah.
And she, after a brief minute, stands up tall next to you, extends a giant hand down to you, and then says, "Then you're as mot as any one of my clansmen."
Yep, and I will extend the same.
And she shakes your hand and says,
"It was an honor."
Now kiss!
Red.
She says, "You and your friends are welcome to partake in the Thrymtide feast with the rest of us."
Yeah.
And then she sort of claps her hands together with a resounding boom, and you see like an avalanche form in the mountains in the distance. And she shouts out to the group of assembled frost giants, "As far as I'm concerned, this group of small folk is as mot as any of you, and they're welcome within the boundaries of this clan for the feast of Thrymtide and for any other time thereafter." And the frost giants surrounding with sort of mixed emotions. Some of them give like wholehearted support, some of them kind of give little scowls but clap, begin to then go back to their business of setting up for Thrymtide. The town itself has now been decorated with trees that are adorned with like elk horn ornaments and things like that. Most of the giants have donned crimson dyed tunics of pelts and things like that. And the smell of the feast is beginning to come from the longhouse. Several of the giants drag away the mammoth and begin to carve into it to prepare it for feasting as well. The Remoraz carcass is basically thrown into, like, before the front gate of the city, or the town, and propped up, almost like a warning sort of thing, like just a trophy of pride.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, a couple more hours pass and you find yourselves seated at a long table with a group of frost giants all eating, drinking, and being merry with hunks of massive mammoth steaks in front of you. All other kinds of festival food before you.
Is there any polar bear?
Unfortunately, no, not this time.
Sorry for that.
There is mammoth, though.
I mean, the mammoth's great, but I was talking to this frost giant, and he was really talking up the polar bear, and I was getting an appetite for the polar bear. And I'm a little bit drunk.
I
But he
can
did.
make it
He
taste
did
like polar bear.
say. He did say
You
that
don't
she was
know
going to bring
what
back a
polar bear
mammoth.
tastes
Probably.
How do you know?
Look at you.
You don't know either.
Daddy, why don't you think instead about the title of your next book?
He hasn't
Like,
finished his
maybe-
first book.
Frost Giant, Love and the Vessel. Go
Frosty
off this
Love.
polar bear jag, didn't I?
I'm taking time
Giant
while we're
frosty
eating
love.
to like use Mage Hand to take little pieces of food and just put them in Daddy's hair because
I mean,
he's
I
too
can-
drunk.
No, I can
He's too
feel
drunk
that.
to notice.
No, he's
your
not that
hair's
drunk. He
so
can feel
long.
it. Yeah. You're too drunk to notice.
Yeah.
You like drop him like maybe change the maniac's drunk.
Yeah.
It's like ooh. It's like one of these.
I slept it off. I'm fine.
Oh yeah.
You guys are all seated sort of at the head of the table and like seats of honor next to Scotty. And she is basically just engaging in conversation with all of you.
Yeah.
And she sort of starts by asking where each of you came from, like what your experiences have been up till now, and just sort of inquiring about your entire story.
Okay.
Yeah, she is mainly speaking with Hunter
Yeah. Do you want me to actually
and
do?
Thaddeus, because Thaddeus she also saw a fight end. So.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. So she has her. So I was infatuated with her bow, correct?
Yeah,
which is
anytime-
sort of leaning against the wall in the
So
corner.
I would. I mean,
Anytime
we will,
she starts to talk to Thaddeus tries to redirect the conversation on her in like a very pointed way.
Wingman manner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, so yeah, I would be also curious to know about their tribe, and the her weapons, and like we would have like a little talk about our hand. I'm guessing it's like handcrafted and like minus two, and so we would like compare and like talk
She
about
explains there was a tree, the first one that grew in this territory after we came from here. And my ancestors from that tree, when it grew to full proportion, crafted this bow. And she gestures towards the bow that is leaning against the wall. And she sort of sizes you up and says, having seen your work with the Remoras, I suppose that if any smaller creature could draw its bowstring, it's probably you. But I probably don't need to press upon you how much it requires to draw.
I'd love to try.
And she sort of laughs and says, I would love to see you try.
Yeah.
Perhaps after we've
maybe
tried
after
it before.
this. Yeah, that'd be good. And then I would also I would answer her inquiry about where we're from and about how each of us met, sort of, and that we're on our way we're actually going to the Elderhaven Reaches. This
She
is
sort
where
of like
I'm
shakes
from.
her head
Yeah.
and says, I don't know where that is.
And our main goal here, since we entered the vessel, is to direct it there, so that we can.
I see. And so that's why you allied yourself with a group of outsiders like Shuten.
Correct. Because I don't think any of the giants when we initially got here would have taken on that request to.
No, you're probably right.
Yeah.
They certainly wouldn't have.
So we
Well,
took that opportunity.
With this, your third challenge completed. Shuten and his gang, I suppose, will have their say in all matters giant. So it probably won't be long before the stone giants allow you into their domain to commune with the vessel.
Okay. Have you ever been there before? Do you know what it's like?
I can't say I have. No. The whole spiritual nonsense, that's more of the stone giants thing. But
Because it does seem like each giant tribe does sort of keep to themselves for the most part.
they overlap to some extent. The
Yeah.
cloud giants control our weather. They make sure that each region has the sort of weather that is comfortable for the giants that live there. Frost giants hunt and provide game for each of the other bands of giants. The stone giants speak with the stones and offer up prophecies and foretell when change is coming. it was them who found out about the death of Voltrus and instigated this reordering games.
And then I think when she says that, not sure if we should. I mean, we tried to save him, so. But yeah, I think I would tell her that we were there when Voltrus was killed, and we tried to save him.
She doesn't seem particularly sad,
Yeah.
so much as just kind of. She says, "Well."
And I'll say like that's the organization that we're after as well. That's why we're going to Building and Reaches, to track them down because they're doing evil things.
If I hadn't already deemed you much, then you would be even more so. Avenging the last, well, as far as we know, the last storm giant in this realm. That's an honorable goal. The storm giants were kind to the frost giants when...
Vengeance!
She chuckles. The storm giants were kind to the frost giants when very few others were. When the last reordering happened and the frost giants fell one rung to the fire giants, it was, well, the leader of the frost giants then was very uncompromising in his ways, and it's safe to say that we deserved our fall. And I would ask if you have any sway in the matter. Just please ensure we don't fall anymore. To be below the stone of the hill giants, that would be, well, it's unthinkable, but I don't think we deserve to be any further above where we are.
I thought we could only move up one place, so it's kind of the hill and us swap.
Well, yes. Each group of giants can move up or down one place.
I thought this was just getting Shuten's group into place.
Right.
So that no one's going down.
Down with hill. They're low now.
She kind of smiles at you and says, "It's actually your friend over here has the right idea. The lesser giants weren't considered among our numbers until, I suppose, this very moment."
Wait. So, cloud is weather, and you're food, and fire is weapons. Well, what's the point of hill?
She laughs at like a big hearty laugh, and she says, "I don't know, entertainment." They're dumb, but they are funny. Sometimes. And good for manual labor.
Yeah, I didn't want to see stuff.
You trust me when I say you do not want to see stuff.
Everyone looks at Kamiko like...
Thaddeus takes some mammoth and like shoves it in her mouth. Okay, there! Stuff!
She says, compared to the feast we have here, hill giants have no such preconceptions about what constitutes food. They'll eat anything, and I mean anything. So, you don't. It doesn't matter how long the thing has been dead. It doesn't matter whether it was ever alive. They will eat it. So, planks of wood, rotting flesh. It's all fair game. You do not want to see stuff.
They must have strong constitutions.
They do. That is a fact. And Scotty also throughout the night, since you expressed sort of a little bit of interest in like the origins of her clan, you said?
Yeah.
Sort of explains how the giants came to be here. And it's all interwoven with what she was saying earlier about how there was a previous reordering. And essentially, the legend that she spins tells of a time when giants were merciless rulers over human races, smaller folk like yourselves. But then the dragons, who were bitter enemies of the giants, came and gave the smaller folks magic, and the smaller folk began to rise up to heroic status, sort of person by person, and a vast majority of the giants didn't accept them as like independent creatures. They were still like cattle and animals to many of the giants. But the storm giants and several of the cloud giants started sort of a movement amongst the giants to bequeath the world to the smaller folk. Since the smaller folk were many in number across the entire world, and they were rising up and taking control of it for themselves. And the giants had seen the works that the smaller folk were accomplishing, and the cloud giants and storm giants sort of sensed that a time of change was upon the people. And so they began to lead the giants out of this world and into the vessel. But the frost giants and the fire giants and the hill giants and some stone giants all opposed to this. And so they had their sort of first reordering games, at which point the fire giants, in sort of a deceptive move, secretly allied themselves with those who were willing to move into the vessel, thus securing their place in the ordering even after the reordering. But the stubborn frost giants fell a position. And she sort of she paints this part of the story in like a regretful light. Like she has worked her entire life to redeem the frost giants from that sort of failure.
Mother, can we push him up?
Try.
She shakes her head and says, I think that our position in the ordering is ordained as it is. It's where the gods would have us be. We don't seek to be higher than we are. We just don't want to be any lower.
Does it have any tangible gains to be higher or lower?
Command over other giants, but...
Does that affect your everyday lives?
She shakes her head and says, unless the giants were to come together for some greater purpose,
I see.
while we dwell within the vessel, position in the ordering is trivial.
So this vessel is a living thing?
She shrugs.
You don't know. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I just know that the stone giants can commune with it spiritually in some way and steer its direction.
Hunter, it is a living thing, remember?
Do I remember?
Yeah, when we first came here.
Oh, wait.
I showed you its ear. I showed you its ear.
Well, that was... Right, alright.
But I did sense something in it that wasn't 100% stone.
Okay.
And after this point, unless you have something else you want to talk to Scotty about in particular, a night of feasting and drinking is
Are
had.
you into Warforged?
Shakes her head and laughs.
Red.
He's worse than I am.
A night of feasting and good fun is had, and you guys are put up at a nice position next to the fire if you want to sleep within the longhouse. Given warm polar bear pelts to sleep under and on top of. And you find yourselves resting. And again, this night, each of you has a dream. And it starts out in the beginning, a shared dream in the sense that it's the same content, but you're still separate and alone in the dream. So you are standing, again, amidst a field, but this time it's a snowy white field. There's no sign of the longhouses of the fire giants or the frost giants or anything like that, but snow is falling all around you. And then again, you're sucked downwards through the ground, and it's crushing and oppressive, and you find yourself underwater and unable to breathe. Even Hunter, it's this sensation which you haven't felt in a long time of just unable to get enough air.
Yeah.
Your lungs being crushed by water and things like that. And you see the same scene you saw the night before, a black turtle, sea turtle, wrapped by this 8-headed, 8-tailed serpent and struggling for survival. But then as you were drawn back out of that scene, each of you sees something separate. Thaddeus, you see a spring meadow. You're standing in the grass amidst trees, and you can hear birds chirping, and they're flying around, and there are bees and other insects buzzing through the air. And there's a warm spring breeze drifting through the clearing that you stand in. And you see before you a statue, an ancient statue of an Elder Haven Reaches style dragon, that long serpentine dragon. But it is enwrapped by the same 8-headed, 8-tailed serpent. And there is basically a poisonous, venomous goo that is dripping from the serpent and encasing the statue. And as you stare at this,
So the serpent is like a real serpent. It's not like a stone. It's not like part of the.
it's a real serpent that
Okay.
is wrapped around this stone statue. And clutched in the dragon's mouth is a dull mirror of sorts. And there seems to be Elderhaven Reach's writing carved around the edge of it, but you can't read it. And then as the poisonous liquid bubbles out from the serpent, it begins to surround and encompass you, and then you find yourself drowning in that sludge, and all goes black, and you dream not for the rest of the night.
Who's the statue? Is it your god? Or
No, it was
the dragon.
yeah, Elder Henry's a style dragon.
Okay.
Harmony, you are standing in a rocky plains in the middle of a hot summer day. You can feel summer heat beating down upon you. And there is a single tree that is growing up out of the rocky plains. Its branches are withered and dry. And perched on the branch of the tree is a great orange bird with long pluming tail feathers that fall down from its back. And the bird would be beautiful were it not at this moment being consumed whole and live by a black serpent with 8 heads and 8 tails. The 8 heads that are not, or the 7 heads that are not consuming it, are basically just nipping at it constantly. And you can just hear the last dying wails of this bird that is being consumed by the serpent. And then on the ground beneath the bird, as if it fell from the tree itself when the tree was still alive, is a gemstone in the shape of like a comma, maybe, sort of like with a circular part and then a tail that drifts up off of it. And it is just the purest, greenest jade that you have ever seen. And you're enraptured by it for a moment, but that makes you forget the serpent. And by the time you remember it and look up, one of the serpent's heads is lashing down towards you, and then you are being engulfed by the serpent, and then you dream no more. Mara, you do not leave the watery area where this turtle is being devoured. Instead, you drift closer to the turtle and get a better look at it. And you can see that it has these piercing, wintry blue eyes that seem to be crying out desperately for help. And you hear a voice sort of echo through the water in your head, and you identify it as coming from the turtle, and it says, it says, you who bears her spirit, you must save me. I'm dying. And then the serpent strikes a killing blow on the turtle, and it goes limp in the serpent's jaws, and then it begins to turn its 8 heads towards you, and you dream no more. And Hunter, you find yourself in a autumnal forest of sorts. Colored fall leaves decorating the area around you. And you see the body of a white tiger laying on the ground in the forest. And there is a 8-headed serpent just picking at it slowly, slithering around it and picking at it bit by bit. It's already like chewed the eyes out of its sockets and things like that.
Roll initiative.
Yes. And in the serpent's mouth, it grips a sword, which roll a history check.
Sure. I rolled a natural 1.
Okay. A sword that draws your attention and focus. It rings a bell of some kind in your mind. You feel like you've seen something like this or heard something like this before, but you can't place it in this moment as you're just enraptured by the horror that is this serpent devouring this tiger,
Okay.
which sort of takes all of your focus, and you do not notice as the forest around you begins to wither and die, the leaves falling and turning to mush around you, and then just you feel your body as well as you notice your body seems to be human in this dream space,
Mhm.
beginning to wither away from your bones. And the serpent just kind of turns lazily and looks at you as you watch your hand before your eye, the flesh just slough off of it, wither to bones, and then turn to dust and blow away on a cold fall wind. And eventually, you all wake up under the warm polar bear rugs on the hearth of the frost giants, and we'll pick up there next week.
Not next week.
Not next week.
In
Oh!
3 weeks.
Yes, to close
3
out
weeks.
your time in the
That's not next
vessel,
week,
we'll
not
pick
week
up on
after.
January
Yeah.
7th.
January 7th.
So we went a little bit long since we started late,
Yeah.
but
That's fine.
I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you to anyone who tuned in to watch. That was fun. We'll be back, like everyone just said, January 7th for more of this and the end of this portion of the adventure and the transition on to the final leg in the Elder Hagen Reaches. And so we hope to see you then. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good night. See you later. Bye.
Uh,